Hey, welcome. In this one, I want to show you why your ads probably haven't been working. Maybe they've been attracting, low quality people that just aren't the right fit for your offer. And I speak to a lot of people like this who they've been running ads for a while and maybe they were working for a while, but the last kind of 6 to 12 months, things have dropped off. Maybe you've just never got them to work. And so you end up speaking to people who can't afford your offer. You have low show up rates on your funnels. And then you end up questioning, maybe I should just lower my prices. Maybe I should change my offer. Maybe I should change it all. But here's the thing, you probably are making sales organically. You're probably making sales when you get referrals, when you're growing through word of mouth. It's just the paid advertising piece isn't working. And rather than scrap that and just say, hey, paid ads don't work, you just need to figure it out because chances are you're not a paid ads expert. Maybe you haven't spent loads of money on ads or years of your life kind of dedicated to this. Luckily for you, I have. And so in this video, I'm going to break down how you can fix your low quality lead problem. So this isn't, just about getting leads. And what happens a lot of the time is we run ads and we optimize for the cheapest leads possible. And I've had a few clients start this month where they'd worked with media buyers or they'd hired an agency, and the person running their ads had been showing them these results of like, hey, look, we're getting $2 leads, we're getting $1 leads, we're getting $3 leads. It's amazing. We're getting all these leads through. And then the person on the other side, the business owner, is, getting calls booked. Half of those calls don't even show up. So, 40, 50% show up rate. So they're wasting time there, wasting money there. Then when they're on these calls, the close rate is extremely low because even though the person on the call wants the offer, they can't afford it. They're speaking to people who, are unemployed, they're working part-time or they're working at McDonald's and they're trying to sell a $5,000, $10,000 offer. It just doesn't add up. And this is even worse if you have a B2C market where, you are essentially just marketing to anybody, like the general population, as opposed to like business owners. It's really, really hard to get right. So I want to break down how you can turn that around in this video because it is a common problem that a lot of people have. Like the first step is actually generating leads in the first place and getting calls booked. But then the second step, which is like the higher level problem, which most people need to solve, is actually getting qualified calls booked. And so there's a few things here that are going to make it work. And if we break it down into kind of 3 steps, the first step is in the ad itself, right? So we want to look at actually what's going on in the ad before they click anything. The next thing is the first page or touch point, but we'll just put page 1. And then, that's supposed to be a 3. Then it's kind of page 2/booking, right? And more specifically, like the offer. These are the 3 steps, right? And so the first thing that somebody's going to see from you, let's say they've never heard of you before and they're seeing an ad from you for the first time, that ad needs to be really, really specific. And this is where a lot of people go wrong because they create ads that are super broad. And especially, again, if you're in a B2C market, let's say, you're working on helping somebody's health, their wellness, their finances, like that usually can be applicable to anybody. And so what's going to happen on Meta's platform is they're going to optimize for the cheapest leads possible. And usually that's going to be people who don't have a lot of money, right? They have a lot of expendable time, but not a lot of expendable cash. And it's going to send you the cheapest leads it can because Meta is like, that's what it optimizes for. It's optimizing for leads. It's optimizing to get as many as possible. So if we get the messaging specific in the ad and we're kind of calling out exactly who we're trying to speak to, that's going to help massively with, first of all, just getting the right eyeballs on the content. But then we want to make sure that before somebody actually gets classed as a lead, we qualify. And especially if you had this issue already, like you can do this before they become a lead. So you might have like 1 to 2 questions that you ask in, whether it's a form, if you're doing lead forms, whether it's on a landing page, or if you're running DM ads, you can do this as well. But you qualify and then they become a lead, right? So they have to answer these 2 questions. And, it could be something as simple as like, are you working full time right now? Right? For a lot of people, that's enough. You might need to go more specific than that. Right? Like if you work with people who are specific professionals, or you only work with business owners and entrepreneurs, or you only work with certain demographics, like you can ask those questions before they opt in. And then what's going to happen is you can disqualify people. So what's called DQing. you can disqualify people that aren't a good fit and do one of two things. Either just say, sorry, this isn't for you, or you can send them to a page that isn't pixeled. Right? This only works when you're doing an actual funnel, like if you're doing lead forms or if you're doing DM ads, then you just want to disqualify people. The reason we do this is because for somebody to now get classed as a lead in Meta's eyes, they have to answer these qualifying questions and positively answer them, right? So they are showing that they're a qualified lead. Now, your lead cost, let's say for example, your lead cost right now is $2, then maybe your lead cost is going to go up to like $4 or $5, especially at the beginning when you first start doing this. That's not a problem, and this is where most people freak out because they're like, oh, I was getting $2 leads and now it's increased, now it's double or triple what I was paying before. But like, would you rather have 1,000 people on your email list who are never going to buy from you because they're broke and it's like, even though your offer's great, they just can't afford it? Or would you rather have 100, 200, 300 people who genuinely are the right fit and could, afford your offer? It's always the latter, right? So it's better to pay more for a qualified lead than less for an unqualified lead. The other thing that's going to happen here is what's called pixel conditioning. So if you, to begin with, if you've been running ads already, then your pixel data probably isn't going to be very good, and this becomes like a downward spiral because the more data your pixel has, if it's getting the wrong leads, it's just going to keep finding more and more people like that. So we want to flip that on its head, and by asking these qualifying questions and then only getting leads through that are qualified, then that's sending that data back to Meta, back to the pixel to say, hey, we want to find more people like this. And so that's going to just help increase the quality over time, which should actually impact this and decrease the lead cost over time. Then what you can do, if we're going really technical, like let's say 60 days down the line, could be a bit less, could be a bit more, depends on how much you spend, but 60 days down the line, you've got, 60 days worth of qualified leads that you've pixeled. So you have like all these people in this audience now that are good, right? Versus before where you had all these people that weren't a good fit. But we can take that audience and say, hey, Meta, create a lookalike audience based on the last 60 days of leads that have come through. Like once you've set this up and you've run it for a bit of time, and then that's another feedback loop to improve quality. This is all on the ad side. This is before they even go to the next step in the funnel. Well, this can also be the first page if you are running like a VSL funnel or an opt-in funnel. Those questions will be on the actual page, but if you're doing lead forms or DM ads, that'll technically be on Meta's side. That's on the marketing and the lead gen side. Then when it comes to sales, this is really simple, but so few people do this, right? If you're sending somebody, for example, we build VSLs out for most clients, which is typically something like this. It's like a headline, the VSL, the video itself, and then a button to book a call. All you need to do is just add one small step here. So before they go into a call, you ask them some qualifying questions and then go into the call. And again, if they don't qualify, you just send them to what's called a DQ page. Sorry, you don't qualify for this offer. And again, this is going to be predetermined based on your offer, your market. Like I can't tell you what to write in this, but we want to just ask a few questions to make sure they're a right fit, right? Are they the right demographic? Do you have exposable income right now? Like all of this stuff, expendable income. Do you have expendable income right now? Are you XYZ? Like, if you only work with doctors, you're a doctor. If you only work with business owners, you're a business owner. If you only work with men or you only work with females, like you ask those questions, right? Because you don't want people booking into your calendar that aren't a good fit. It's just a complete waste of time, and it's energy draining as well. So that's what we're doing on the sales side. It's really this is really simple, but so few people actually do this. They're too afraid to do the disqualification. But again, on the back end, what you want to do, let's say you have an ad and they go to, let's just do a basic VSL funnel, which will be like a opt-in. Then they'll have the VSL page, right? Then call, right? You might have like Calendly or whatever you use. Then what is important as well is on the back end, you send them to a thank you page, and this gets pixeled. And we would add the event like schedule. Because then on Meta side, you can see, obviously, you've got the questions here to disqualify people. So we're getting qualified leads through to the VSL page. Then on the actual VSL funnel itself, we're only booking calls with people that answer those qualification questions, meaning, the people that are getting pixeled with schedules are only, well, for the most part, some people will slip through. That's always inevitable. But for the most part, these guys are going to be qualified. They've now gone through 2 layers of qualification, like 1 to opt in the first place, and then 2 to book the call. And this, again, is data that you can send back to Meta. Well, it does it automatically once you set it up. But it just means that you're going to get much more qualified people on the call. Now, just to finish on, because this is probably the most important thing of all, is understanding your numbers and like building your business based on numbers and data, because too many people are reactive, they're emotional, they make decisions that are just dumb, like they're just not thought through properly. And when you know your numbers, like one thing we do with all of our clients is like we track numbers, we do reporting every week, and we make decisions based on data, not on emotion. And so what we do is we look at some of the key metrics and we say, okay, well the most important thing is your CAC, like what's your cost to acquire a client, right? And let's say, for example, right now it's $1,000 and it's a $5,000 offer. You might think, okay, well that's really high. We want to get that low. We want to optimize stuff. Let's just go and change, everything. This is very reactive. We don't actually know why the CAC is high, right? Why is it that we're only getting a 5x return and not a 7 or an 8x return? And so this is where we want to break down and we look at the numbers and we're like, okay, we need to look at our cost per click. We need to look at our, conversion rate. We need to look at our cost per lead. We need to look at our cost per call. We need to look at our show up rates. We need to look at our closing rate. And then we need to obviously look at price. So these are all things that you can compartmentalize, because you might find that there's just one problem that you solve that makes a huge difference and halves the cost per acquisition, which is like, if it's cost per click, you know that that's on the ad side, right? Because for them to click, they need to see the ad. So if it's just that and everything else is good, we go and we look at the ads and we optimize that. If you're getting loads of clicks but the conversion rate's low, then we need to look at the landing page or what you're sending people to. If you're getting loads of people and loads of leads through but no one's booking a call, then you need to look at the call booking page, the VSL, that process, or maybe your nurture process with emails and content on the back end. Maybe you are getting like a good amount of people through, but you're just undercharging and you need to charge more. These are all considerations that you need to base on the data. But once you have your qualification process set up, you can look at this and you know exactly what's working. These numbers aren't terrible and you want to keep running this, but too many people make these decisions based on emotion. They're reactive and they don't track any of this stuff. We had a client start with us a few weeks ago, and their previous media buy didn't track anything. Like they were just like kind of telling them what they were seeing in Ads Manager each week, but they weren't like, they didn't have a spreadsheet, they didn't have a breakdown, they didn't break down each of the number that's important to track in the funnel. And so obviously their decision making was terrible. Like they weren't making any decisions, or they were making the wrong decisions and just scrapping everything. Like, okay, this isn't working, we need to build a whole new funnel, which again is super dumb. It's not a good way to run your business, and it's too common. Like so many people do that. They don't know why things aren't working, and so they scrap everything and start again instead of like breaking it down piece by piece and then knowing what's working or not working. So hopefully you found this useful. If you want to find out more around how we can set this up for you, we can start booking you qualified calls, then click the link below, because I've just put together a video that breaks down our system of how we're booking 1 to 3 financially qualified calls for our clients every day. And if you're in the position where you're doing over 20K a month, you want to scale to 50, 100, some of our clients are already at 100, they want to scale to 250 a month, then this is going to be perfect for you. If you click that link, you can check out our offer, how it works, and if it's the right fit for you. But if not, I'll love you and leave you. Feel free to ask any questions below, and I'll see you on the next one.